Today, we are discussing how to manifest a breakthrough when you've been stuck at an income plateau. Hi, I'm Tracey-Ann Rose, and I help high-achieving spiritual women of color entrepreneurs break through income ceilings and reconnect with their intuition without burning down their business. Welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Business Blueprint, and we are so excited today to have our guest, Dr. Dré Cleveland. Hi, Dr. Dré.
Hi, Tracey-Ann.
So first, I want you to get to know our wonderful guest. Dr. Dré Cleveland, your personal power coach, is a prolific speaker, author, life coach, and intuitive healer. With nearly 20 years in the field of personal and professional development, Dré has brought eye-opening and intriguing programs and keynotes to various businesses, educational, and social organizations that tap into the core of who we are as human beings on our personal journeys to self-discovery, self-love, and manifesting our deepest desires. She's also been invited to speak on both national and international stages, sharing the platform with powerhouse speakers like Bill Walsh, Gary Cox, and Les Brown. Dré has been featured in the documentary Head Ladies in Charge and has participated in various radio shows, including the Jeff Fox radio show and several events, including the New York Black Expo and the Sista to Sista Youth Summits featured on Essence.com. Dr. Dré, it is an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
So I love this bio because it already encompasses so much of what you have worked hard to manifest. But for our listeners, some of them, they're not at that stage. They're dreaming of these experiences that you've had, having that visibility, having that impact, working with women in communities and circles. I'd love to hear what inspired you to do this work and what helped you actually get started.
Well, it's a funny story because what inspired me to do this work is that I was kind of already naturally doing it. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people, like where you may kind of unconsciously be operating in your gifts and not necessarily thinking of it as a gift, just kind of being yourself, right? And doing what you naturally do. And I remember being pregnant with my son. He's 19 now. And he was almost born. He was incubating, but we were getting close. But I was at a space where a lot of my friends were always asking me for advice or, how to get through certain things in their life. And I figured I should write a book because that way I won't have to keep repeating myself. Right. And so that became my first book, which was called God is a Woman, 7 Keys to Self-Love and Empowerment for Women. And I happened to back then, because I've obviously dated myself because I said my son's 19. So back then, we only had what do you call those? Like message boards. Like we didn't have Facebook or anything like that. We didn't have the message boards, right, where you chat with people. And I had a group that I was always in, and I would chat with them, and I asked people to do like the blurb on the back where they say, this is a great book and I recommend it, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I had sent it to one lady and she happened to be a life coach. I had no clue what that was because it didn't really exist back then. I thought she was trying to tell me that I should be like a basketball coach. I was like, how did you get there? Like this book is about empowering women and you're like, I should be a coach. How? Right.
Make it make sense. Yeah.
Right, make it make sense. And then, but she explained to me, she said, no, you are already doing this work and there's ways for you to get paid for doing it. I said, I can get paid for saying the same things that I say for free to people. I said, you don't have to say another word. And that was the inspiration. That was the inspiration for that. She sent me to some places to get certification because even then she was clear that's what you needed, right? Because they were still it was still an extremely new place to be. But certification was like top of the list, right? And over time I've realized too, like, yeah, it's necessary because everybody can call themselves a coach, but everybody is not actually a coach. A lot of people are mentors, and that's okay too, right? But that's different than someone who's a coach, right? So anyways, I say all that to say that that was the inspiration because I was kind of already doing it. And then someone gave me what I would call the permission slip because I didn't know that this was a thing that could be a career. I just knew it was a thing that I was kind of already naturally doing because I was being called to it.
This is so interesting because a few things come up. I would love to hear your thoughts on, because I don't think that the industry talks about this enough, that there is a difference between mentorship versus coaching. What's your take on that?
Yep, absolutely. Well, a mentor is someone who can say, I've been there, I've done that, and now I can teach you how to do that. So there's nothing wrong with someone being a mentor, but that's different than someone who's being a coach. That's someone who's calling you forth to yourself, who's able to dig from within you some deep places that'll bring you to the next level. Like, in other words, what I've always seen, and this has been my experience, someone could be a mentor, but they may not be able to do that, which means that they always now need the coach to pull you towards a thing. Like, this person can teach you how to write a book. They're a mentor about writing books because they know how to write a book. They've done it. They can get you to bestseller. Wonderful. But then there's this person who's still stopped. Just because you know how to write a book now does not mean that you are going to execute on writing said book. Does not mean that, right? Like, it's the same, to me, it's the same thing as when two people go to the same college, they have the same classes, even get the same grades, right? Graduate at the same time, but their lives go in two totally different directions, right? So it's not always about the things that you know,
Right.
right? That's only part of it. That's one oar, right? If you were in a boat, you'd be rowing with one oar, right? There's always this part about who you're being in the process, and that's what makes you go left or right.
I love
right?
that because that's very
Yeah.
I don't think that people put that together a lot of the times of like, there's yes, who you are, and that's inherently going to help you fulfill your purpose, right? But then there's also how you're doing it, and how you're doing it is part of that manifestation process. Can you get into how you started to manifest all these accomplishments? You go from hearing about this made up profession, thinking, okay, this woman is telling me to become a basketball coach. I don't know what she's talking about. Wait, a life coach? Is that even a real thing? Walk me through how you manifested moving into that identity and owning it with authority.
Got you. Well, I mean, I will say for me, at least, it started with that I was already living in that identity. Like I said, I was already doing this, right? To be fair, the part that I had to step into is that I was a person who could make money doing this.
Yes.
I never connected the two. I was just being myself, right? I was just like, everybody has those things where like, that can't be my purpose in life. Like, anybody could do that. And then not realize, no, everybody cannot do that.
And can we talk about the fact that as women of color, I think we believe that achievement does come with a level of struggle or efforting sometimes. And that's what I really love about your work is that, yes, there is inner work, but it's still fun. There's still boozy ice cream socials. There's still playing games, but you can still heal in that space and knowing that that's accessible to people. The ease, like you already have what you need to start your business. So how can people start identifying that their goals their gifts are actually something that they can monetize? Because that's probably also what's keeping them stuck. A lot of these people, they don't realize that people will actually value and get so much more out of your work, if you are paid.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question because that was a long journey for me, let me tell you, because I also, not only did I think I couldn't get paid, but when I was privy to the point of that you could get paid, because when you're doing your certification, by the way, right, nobody's really paying you. This
No.
is more like you are doing this for the hours so that you can get certified, right? And I was comfortable in that space, right? Because there was the exchange rate was the hours so I could get certified, right? And then there's the space where it's like, okay, well, now I have my certification. I guess I should charge people. Right? It's like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
Right. So, right. And it felt weird, right? Because I didn't see it as monetizable. Although, obviously you learn that in your certification that it's a business. This is how you do and all of that, right? But that just wasn't where I was. So I went to charging little to nothing
We've
for
been there.
my
We've all been
yeah.
there where we start out like it's. I remember I used to do like 90-minute, 75 to 90-minute Reiki sessions for free, and I was like,
Yeah.
if you come back again, you can get it'll be $75. They did not come back again.
Right. Exactly. Like that. Right. Just, because you're getting your feet wet, and then you're also dealing with your own psychology around money and around worth. Right. And all of that. Right. So I think for people getting started, that's one of the first places to look. Like, one, that you acknowledge that your gift is a gift and that it's not something that everybody can do, which is why you are charging for it. Not because, you're necessarily trying to get rich from doing it. But what I've come to learn is that it's an exchange of energy. It's
Yeah.
an energy exchange. So when you are just giving and you're not expecting anything in return, right, that's depleting on your end. So you've given all of this value over here. This person is made anew and they are living their best life, right? And you're still struggling. Now you can't pay your rent because you didn't charge, right? There was no exchange. You're just giving energy and not receiving energy. People have to really think about like how do I want to exchange energy? Energy is supposed to move freely. It's supposed to flow. It's not supposed to get stagnant, and that's what happens when it only goes one way.
Yes.
Kind of just goes right there and then kind of hits a wall, right? For lack of a better way to put it, right? And those are the type of mind shifts that I had to make. So I heard you getting ready to ask me how did I move through that. It was a lot of mindset work and realizing that that's what I was battling up against. It wasn't even just about money. It was like, what's the exchange of my time, for what I'm actually giving. And once you start seeing people's results with what you're doing, you're like, well, I mean, I gotta charge something. Like, I'm not gonna be able to keep doing this if I don't. Right. And then, there were some things about mindset around what, especially in our community, because I've always primarily worked with, I'm going to say Black people, right? Recently it's evolved to specifically Black women, but it was always Black people. My original brand, notice this is funny. My original brand was actually Still Girl, Get Your Life Together. It lasted for 2.2 seconds. And then for whatever reason, it turned into the Power Players Club. And I had that for 10 years. The Power Players Club was unisex, but it was still, men and women of color. But I say all of that to say that I would impose my own thought about what people could afford and what people would be willing to pay, right? And that made me charge little to nothing. Right. So the energy exchange still wasn't fair. Meanwhile, when you think about it, people do pay for what they care about. Right. The same person you're saying can't pay $97 for a workshop.
Yes.
Will pay $300 for a pair of sneakers.
Oh, absolutely. They somehow I mean, the credit card suddenly works whenever it's time to buy something. But I think like I'm also hearing is that it's when they can see the value, when the value has been communicated effectively of like how this will change their life in a way that will create more ease, that will help them to break through to that goal that they've been looking at for so long. Like, exactly. This is the process.
Yep.
And so,
and I'm glad that you said that, because that's what I was about to say after that. Like, that was part of the mind shift and realizing that, I'm only not able to charge what I want to charge because I haven't been able to share the value with people, help them to understand, like to the extent that you're able to have people understand the transformation that they are going to receive by working with you, tells you how much you can charge, right?
Yes.
Because I could charge $5,000 for the same $97 workshop,
It's true.
right? And so and people will pay it, and I've demonstrated that to myself. I've found ways to pay people $2,000 for a program they weren't even going to help me in. It was just to have access to the program.
Yeah. I think as coaches, we've all been there. We've all invested heavily in ourselves, especially if we're, at this level.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about, there's so many juicy things actually. So actually, look, we're gonna go to a quick break, and then we're gonna dive right back in to talk about Dr. Dre's manifestation formula, so that you can push through any sort of discomfort or inconsistency or any struggles that you're having, actually taking action on your goals or knowing how to show up in order to manifest. You've made your first 10K, but now you're feeling stuck. You're feeling stagnant in your business, but you want more. You want consistency. You want to bring in 10K months, not just 10K years. If this sounds like you, you're probably already working with coaches or in group coaching programs where the strategies just aren't clicking for you. They require more time, more energy, or they simply don't feel in alignment with where you are now. That's why I created Soul-Centered Success, my 6-month signature program for coaches who are ready to tap into their intuition and create a business that is sustainable and profitable, all based on you. You are the foundation. So based on your body, meaning your physical capacity, your brain, your nervous system, and previous conditioned habits, as well as your soul's blueprint, your astrology, human design, numerology, etc. So if this sounds like you, please go ahead and book your intuitive strategy call. The link is in the show notes. I'll see you there. We're back from our break with Dr. Dré. She is going to unlock for us more of her manifestation formula, which also involved recognizing universal principles, universal laws, the laws of attraction, the laws of reciprocity, that if we are not in alignment with those basic things, we cannot expect to go to that next level income wise. So you realize, okay, I'm getting results for these people. I can see the value now. I can see what their ROI is, whether it be healing their time, being able to set boundaries, to have more peace in their lives, being able to actually relax and know what that feels like in your body. Because so many, people of color, we have CPTSD. So we're used to low level baselines of stress, and that we don't even recognize the stress anymore. So I would just love to hear, for those who are in that space, who are struggling to make that change or to step into a new identity, because we do also have a lot of people who are in the 6-figure range that are like, yo, I built this whole identity. Like you were talking about how you built Girl, Get Your Life Together, and then you moved to Power Players. Like for some people, that would give them an aneurysm at that level because it feels like, oh my God, I'm burning down my business. I'm throwing all this away. I'm obviously going to tank my professional career. So what would you say to people who are struggling in those areas?
Well, the first thing that I would say is really figure out, like, what is it that you want to bring forth next, right? Like if you're feeling that in your body, because that's exactly the issue that I had. It took me a while to let go of the Power Players Club. It was my baby and I had it for 10 years. That's how I started getting on a lot of the platforms that you named earlier, came from that, right? But there was something just in my spirit. I knew it didn't align. Right? Like what I was talking about was in alignment because it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And Girl, Get Your Life Together. But what I was feeling for myself, and this may not be true for everybody necessarily, but for me, the misalignment was it felt very masculine, right? In terms of, right?
I think that resonates with a lot of people. Please, speak more on that. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, just even the way that it was presented, right? Is the power players, first of all. Second of all, my book has a basketball on the front, and my name is Dr. Dre. Most of the time, people thought I was a guy,
I was
right? If
curious,
they
did
didn't,
you play ball like that? Like, were you like a professional baller?
no, I was not a professional
I was just
basketball player at
curious.
all. No, but I love basketball. It's my favorite sport.
Okay.
And the reason why it was a big part or a center of what the Power Players Club stood for was because it was about playing the game of life powerfully and about the idea that, most of us kind of sit in the stands of life. When you think about people and how much we actively do our lives versus it kind of passively happening, we're like the fans in the stands. Like we're cheering for the game. There's only a few people who are actually playing the game at any given time, right? So being a power player was about being the person that's on the court, actually playing the game, actually taking the shots, actually, going to practice, doing the things
Not just
to
showing
get
up,
the
but taking
results.
action.
Right, right. There's a lot to it, right? But even just that distinction of being, are you going to be in the stands versus being someone who's actually playing powerfully in the game of life, right? So that's how that happened. So again, I still stand by the idea of that. It's still what Girl Get Your Life Together is, right? But in a more feminine package, right? It was fun for a little while where people would put me on their show and then they talk to me and they're like, I thought you were a guy. I know you did, right? And so, right, it's fun, but then at the same time, like it didn't match with me because, the way that I be in my life is more feminine, right? I'm actually not a person, right? And I think that helps me teach attraction or law of attraction or manifestation more authentically because it's not about being a go-getter, right? That kind of is implied in the Power Players Club. It's not that, right? Manifestation is a really feminine experience, right? Because it's about aligning and allowing, and it's about only moving when you feel called or drawn. Like I'm not going out
Yes.
to hunt. I'm not going out to, do the things. I'm saying, here's a thing that I want to bring forth. And I'm saying, here's loose outline of how I think that should go. Cause you can't tell the universe
No, you can't control.
how
You can't
it's gonna
control
go.
how it goes down.
Right. Right. And then being in the receiving mode and being able to see how the universe is bringing the pieces to you and it tells you how to act. It's an inspired action. Right. That
Yes.
part was still true in the Power Plays Club, but you hearing it from the outside as an outsider automatically makes you feel like, yeah, I'm a go getter. I'm going to, right. And I was
It's
like,
so
that's not,
true. And that's what
right. That's
capitalism
not what,
has conditioned us into is like, oh, if you're not aggressively working nonstop through the night, then you don't care about your goals or you're not going to manifest your goals. So,
right.
what I'm loving hearing you say is that there is intentionality in all things, including the action. It's knowing what you want, it's knowing what your gifts are, it's knowing the energy that you naturally bring to a situation. And then once you receive that intuitive insight, then it's taking action. I know a few of our listeners who are more in like let's say maybe they haven't quite made their first 10K, or maybe they've made their first 10K and they're kind of stalling out there year after year. They can sometimes struggle with taking action on a consistent basis. And when I say consistency, I don't mean doing the same schedule exactly every day. I just mean
Yeah.
showing up in their business in the areas that would help move it forward. What would you say to them who, because they want to manifest more consistent success, but they're struggling with that action piece of taking the
Yeah.
intuitive action after they receive it?
Yeah, yeah, but I think that's where the disconnect is, right? In a lot of places, because that becomes like a worth conversation, in my opinion, right? Like if
Yeah, I
I'm not
agree.
being,
Say it.
yeah,
Like I think they need to hear it. Yes.
yes, if I'm not being consistent in my business, that tells me a lot about how much I believe I'm able to make the impact that I'm here to make, right? Like if I'm seated and there's an impact that I have to make, it's not about me, right? And it's not about my hair, even though, I could have done it, but it's fine. Great thing I have locks. Right. But it's not about any of that, right? Like if you're seated in the value, we talked about that in the beginning, right? If I know the value that I'm bringing and I know that's what I'm here to do, I'm going to do what it takes, right? I'm going to feel off the way how I felt off about
Yes.
like, that's not it. I got to shift this. When it was the Power Players Club to Girl Get Your Life Together, it's the same thing. You'll feel that way about the motion that's happening in your business. It's going to eat at you. You're like, I'm not, some's not right here because I can't possibly do what I came here to do.
Yes.
Like,
There's
right?
something out of alignment. There's a puzzle piece that's not clicking. So for
Yeah.
those people who are in that place where they're hitting that income plateau at around 10K or so, it's you look inward. Look inward and recognize how you are not validating the transformational value of your own gifts and believing that you are an impactful and prolific human being and your gift is needed. So for them, they need to do some more identity work, it sounds like.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to be fair, I always say I think that should be the first. Like when we talk about like manifestation, like the parts of manifestation, right? Everybody know. Okay, you ask for what you want, and then you allow the universe to do the thing, and then you look for the evidence of how it's already coming to you, and that's the end of it. And suddenly, thing is here. What people don't often tell you is that you're usually asking and attempting to receive from the space of a person who may or may not believe that that thing is possible, right? So to me, the first thing is shift, or maybe, okay, I guess it's the second thing, right? Because you ask for what you want, right? I want a business that, does X amount of money a year, right? Or I want to impact 100,000 women, whatever it is. I don't, right? Fill in the blank, right? Now, who do I have to be being in order for that to manifest for me, right? In other words, who am I being now? That's not in alignment with that goal, right? Which may include I'm also not consistently activated in my business, right? That could be part of who I'm being that's not in alignment, right? And then who do I have to be? A person who has this, who already is living in this alignment, in this space. How are they being? How do they think? How do they walk in the world? How do they, how do they dress? How do they, like all of the things, right? It's almost like a research experiment.
Yes.
Right? Because those people are going to have certain things in common that's how they got there. It's not just because you asked for it and suddenly it came, right? To the extent that you were already in alignment and not having it, not blocking it, because it's always coming. Like if you're asking for it, the universe is saying, "Oh I got that for you." Right? We're usually the person that's blocking it, and we're usually blocking it by the way that we're being, right? And that is the identity piece, right? So if we could just get out the way, then it would come. It's like jumping a timeline, right?
Yes.
Like you would have the life of a person who has you. I always use this as an example because everybody wants to be a millionaire, right? But you will have the life of a millionaire if you are behaving the way a millionaire does. You saying, "I wish I was a millionaire," and then waiting. Okay, right? That doesn't work. It's the same thing in your business, right?
Exactly.
But that's just a concrete example that everybody can agree with, right? How does a millionaire behave? How do they think? They think way differently about money and probably a lot of things about life than a lot of us do who don't experience that level of abundance.
And they think differently about their relationship with money, like who they are in relation to money. So that's also what I'm hearing in the manifestation process, because I know that there have been times where I've manifested something, but I was like, you know what? This might have been the wrong thing. Like, because I wasn't in touch with who I was trying to create some sort of outward level of success to validate an identity, but that wasn't who I truly was. So knowing yourself also seems like a key part of the manifestation process. knowing yourself and also knowing that the version of the person that you want to be isn't necessarily like Stacey Bayman or Marie Forleo or, it's you. It's your
Right.
version of that identity, nobody else's. And when you can own that, then you can step into it. And I think some of the people who struggle with consistency, they're so desperate to be somebody else in their business instead of trusting their energy, their gifts, and their mission.
Yeah. And you have to make sure, like, if you get to that point where you're able to understand, like, a big part of this journey is me sitting with myself and figuring out who I need to be going forward, right? You are going to come up against those things, right? Because you are gonna, like, those might be people that you look at and go, like, how they get there? Like, what do they think? Like, right? And some of those things may not be you, may not even be a thing you're aspiring to, right? And you may find people consequently that do have things, right? Like, it's going to be a
hodgepodge, a smattering,
right,
if you will.
right, exactly. You're going to be pulling from different places. But the other thing is too, you are going to be pulling from yourself. There are things that you may already possess that are in alignment with who this person is, right? Like, and will be amplified by that manifestation, by the way, right? So if you're like a giving person, if you're a person who, like, to our point, right? If I'm a giving person, how do I do that to accelerate my business, right? That helps put me in that mindset of I'm here to give. I'm not thinking about money.
No,
right?
and what do you need to give at that high level that it's the value that you want to create? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes people are just like, oh, I'll just keep giving and giving. And it's like, that's not what it is. You need to focus the energy and get very specific on the intention that you want for the other person, not just for what you want to create in your business, but for the service aspect.
And my program is called Black Girls Manifest, right? One of the biggest things that we work on in the program is the identity activation blueprint, right? That's like the hallmark, because all of what we're talking about goes into that, right? Because once you have all the pieces, now we get to put that together to figure out, okay, like, what does that mean for me, right? Now that I have all of this information, what does that mean for me in terms of how I will now activate that? How am I focusing on becoming those things so that they naturally align, and then I naturally start getting the things that align with that. If I'm saying a person who has let's just say a 6-figure business, right? Say they're not there yet, right? So 6-figure business, right? And I know that part of that is I need to be a person who lives to bring value, right? Then if I'm doing that, again, whether I said it was $97 or it was $5,000, of course, you're not making no 6 figures with $97 like that, right? Unless you got a big audience, right? Right? If you want to go get thousands of people to pay that, great. And I'm talking to myself too, because like I said, I used to do that.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. I think we're all, it comes from a place of love. If you're listening and you're in that place, we understand. We have been there. We're just saying that there is light on the other side of the tunnel. Keep going.
Right.
Keep building your capacity to charge. You got this.
Exactly. And also stop doing that.
Stop the essentially free emotional labor. It's killing your business.
Right. If that's what, like, if you say, no, I just want to make an extra $25,000 this year, that works. Sure. That's in alignment with that.
Sure.
Right. But not if you say that it's going to be different than that. But the point is, whatever you charge, like we said, it doesn't matter. You could put any number on it. But if I'm showing up as a person who's here to bring value, if I tell you it's $5,000 and you're feeling that value, you'll find $5,000.
Yeah.
Give me. It will. It has happened. Multiple times.
It happens every time. The more evidence that you collect by charging that amount, the more you will build that capacity to receive it if you're in that space. And if you're in the space of completely reinventing your identity, I'm so curious. Did you notice changes in how you were able to show up in your revenue? Like, what changes did you notice in your business when you shifted into a more feminine space?
Well, one, it felt more easy, as it should. That's the main thing, I like I said, inside of that container, while it was still the same work, I did feel the energy of masculine. I also felt like I was always having to, go do. And I was like, that it just feels like that's not,
Like forcing or pushing through it instead of just taking action.
yeah, right. These days, like, so back then there was a lot more of I'm sending out my, you know, kit or whatever the case is to be on people's shows and them get to know me and all the things. These days I barely. It just is happening that way.
I
I
love it.
have one on Tuesday, and I think that's an actual radio network. I don't even know, right? I don't know. But the
That's what
point
I've noticed
is,
with people who start to manifest. It's like you take those small steps and then you're like, oh snap. Like I'm on this huge stage that I had no idea I was about to be on because I was just following the next intuitive step.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like when I spoke to the, the CEO guy, he called me yesterday and he had that real radio voice. I said, oh, wait a minute. This is not what I thought it was supposed to be. He had the, you know how people sound when they
I
are
do.
really like that.
In the industry there's certain voices
Yeah.
for each
Yeah. He
profession.
had the, exactly. He had the radio DJ voice. I was like, oh, okay. Right. That's interesting. Right. But I say that to say like a lot more things just literally just come, and it's easy to decide whether or not it's in alignment or not with who I'm being now.
One action step that you would give them. I'm guessing it would be identity based, but I want to, yeah, okay. So what's one action step, Dr. Dre, that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah, well, you just said it, right? You knew that was the answer.
Yeah, we're on we got a bit of a mind meld going right now.
Yes, indeed, indeed. I mean, that is the first step. Because again, it doesn't matter what you ask for, right? If you're not going to become the person who can hold that, then it doesn't matter. It's the same thing as, when people win the lottery, and there's studies about that. Like usually takes them about no more than 5 years to lose all that money if they haven't shifted anything about who they've been being, right? Because while they may have manifested $1 million, speaking of, right, they are not the person who could hold it. They're still a person who thinks money is meant to be spent on, you know, niceties or, whatever the case is.
Fleeting
So that's
moments,
why
perhaps. Yeah.
fleeting moments, right? That's how they think about money, to your point, right? Like the identity of someone who is wealthy versus somebody who just had money, right? They know money is supposed to be invested so it could work for you. Like it's kind of like soldiers. Like you make the money, go do work, right? You can't keep killing your, like I heard it, who said this? T. Harv Eker, right? Because these are things that I listen to and pay attention to because I'm
Yeah.
working to be wealthy. I don't want to just have money. Now I lost it too, right? So, but he said, like, you cannot kill your golden goose, right? People who are not wealthy consistently kill their golden goose. They might have an egg and they'll eat the egg, but now the egg can't, well, not the egg, right? The goose,
Right.
right?
They cook the
I eat the
goose.
goose. Right. Now my goose can't lay no more eggs because I ate him. Right. And so the part of the practice and assuming that identity is also noticing when your old identity is trying to go, let's eat the goose.
Right.
And then new you is like, ma'am, we can't eat the goose. We got to figure out another way. Right. Like you're going to always be playing with both. Right. And I always do a little exercise about, naming that part of your mind, that old identity. Right. I call mine ma'am because that's what I hear when she's talking, ma'am. No, thank you. No, ma'am. Right. That's why her name is ma'am. Right. But you could call it whatever you want to call it. Right. But you will be contending with her.
Yeah.
Right. Because she's still active and she's loud because she's been with you for a really long time. Right. And so you'll be trying on new ways of being and she'll be like, that's not you. Why are you doing that? What is that? Right. She should be doing that.
Well, because she's ignorant. Let's be fair. Like she doesn't know any better. She doesn't know any better.
Right. She doesn't know. And to an extent, which is also really important, she thinks she's protecting you. Right? That's why she does the
Absolutely.
things that she does. Right? This is an unknown space. It's not a place that you've necessarily traveled. And she's like, why would you step into a space where we could get hurt? Why would you do that? Right? And so she can be really effective at pulling you back
Yes.
to your old identity. Right? Your job is to keep the distance between the two of you, right? And know when she's doing the thing she does, because she will, and you choosing what's on your blueprint, right? And saying, this is how I live my life now. And if you are living your life in accordance to certain things, those things naturally come. There's nothing you have to do, right? They do naturally come because they're in alignment with that person.
Yeah. And when you're that person, you take the steps to get there for those things to be invited in the first place too.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. But they'll be natural, right? The natural step of someone who's not killing their goose might look like, I can't take money out of my 401k. I have to go make some money in my business. It's just a natural thought that you would have.
Rather than, ooh, I'm gonna eat this goose. Like
Right,
I'm getting a little nervous. I'm gonna eat this goose.
right, right. Or I don't have to, yeah, I'm a little tight on money. I got a little savings. I'm going to use that. You see what I'm saying? Like your thought process will just be, it will lead you naturally to the next step. There's
Yes.
nothing you need to physically figure out about that. Right? Like you will do the things. If you are being that person, you will do the things that person does. And when you do the thing that person does, you will have what that person has.
I love that. On that mic drop moment, Dr. Dre, where can we find you? Where can our listeners get more connected to you?
Well, you can usually find me anywhere that is Girl Get Your Life Together. So, and my website, I know that I just said that, that's weird, because my website is heallovemanifest.com. Right. But on social media, everything is Girl Get Your Life Together. And my podcast, well, I have two, right? So there's two podcasts. And they're both on Spotify and on iHeartRadio, Amazon, and whatever the other one is. I don't know. Point
All
is,
major distributors.
right, whatever it is, right? And the first one, the original one that I did some years ago, is called Girl Get Your Life Together, so we can't mess that up. And the new one, where we're talking to other Black women about things that they have manifested in their lives, and putting that knowledge that we've been talking about, and applying it to how they got where they got. That one is called She Manifested That, and that one is new. So we are 3 episodes in, but it's been an excited ride. And for your listeners, Miss Tracey-Ann was also one of our guests on that show. So stay tuned, because her episode will be dropping soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't let them leave without knowing about your upcoming book.
Oh, yes. So let me tell no. As I was saying, my program is called Black Girls Manifest. It's the Black Girls Manifest experience, because it is an experience. But that's also the name of the book, right? So the book is called Black Girls Manifest, Heal, Love, and Manifest the life that you deserve.
Beautiful.
Right. So, and it will be coming out March of this year. So I'm really excited about that. We're almost there. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, everyone stay tuned. Make sure you're following Dr. Dre on all her socials. And if you have enjoyed this experience listening in, if you've learned something, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, follow, and definitely share with a friend who has been maybe feeling stuck lately and wants a way out and wants more ease when it comes to manifestation and that process. Thank you again, Dr. Dre, for being here.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.